In previous part, we saw what began as a spirited trek through pine forests and sunlit meadows soon turned into a test of endurance, patience, and unity. From laugh-filled photo stops to aching legs and an empty water crisis near the summit, the climb was anything but easy. Yet Amar, Satwant, Shalu, Vipul, and Roshan, left to right in the image, pushed on, step by weary step, until the silence of Chandrashila Peak embraced them. Above the clouds, beneath the golden sun, they found more than a view. They found stillness, peace, and a bond weathered by struggle and strengthened by togetherness. Hungry, exhausted, but whole, they returned not just to their car, but to a memory that would forever ride with them. Sometimes what awaits after the descent is even more unexpected. New roads, old questions, and the kind of moments that test not the legs, but the heart. Ready for the ride? Let's go! The sky had darkened again, and the mountain chill was back into the air, but the group still glowed with the thrill of having reached the summit of Chandrashila. Roshan glanced around at the others with a satisfied grin. "So, brothers," he said, "shall we head to Ukimath? Let's stay there tonight." Satwant rubbed his arms against the cold, but his energy hadn't faded. "It's a 3-hour drive in the dark, but let's go," he nodded. They are tired, but still buzzing with excitement. The ride back was full of stories, laughter, and exaggerated groans about aching legs. Shalu stretched dramatically and winced. "I feel like my muscles are going to seriously protest tomorrow." "After today's trek," Amar said, slumping back into his seat with a theatrical sigh, "I'm retired for the next 10 days." By 9:30 p.m., they reached Ukimath and found a modest little hotel that looked like heaven to their tired eyes. Vipul dropped his bag with a thud and gave the others a pleading look. "Bro, don't even think about cooking tonight. I'm done." Roshan chuckled as he said, "Don't worry, brother. We will order something. Chef Vipul is off duty." For a moment, Vipul hesitated. Cooking was how he stayed grounded, how he showed care. But tonight, letting go felt okay, necessary even. Satwant was already sprawled across the bed, shoes still on. "I just need a bed," he mumbled. Dinner was quiet and quick. No complaints, no energy left. Within minutes, everyone had fallen into a deep sleep. Next morning, the group woke refreshed, as if the mountain air had reset something in them overnight. The sky outside was a clear, soft blue. Everything felt slower, more still. Amar stood by the window, sipping tea. "There's something special about mountain air," he said softly. Shalu gazed at the view, as if trying to memorize it. "This trip already feels like a dream," she whispered. As they drove down winding roads, the sound of a river weaving through the valley drifted in through the windows. The pull was magnetic. An hour passed as they reminisced about the trek, the trail, the views, the slips and stumbles, and all the laughter. Then Amar suddenly leaned forward. "Stop the car," he said. "Let's cook breakfast right here." They pulled over by the river. Sunlight filtered through the trees, scattering golden patches on the smooth rocks below. The water was clear and cold, humming softly over stone. Satwant stepped out and wandered a short distance away while the others began unloading the gear. He sat on a flat rock by the riverbank, quietly tossing pebbles into the current. For once, he wasn't cracking jokes or filling the silence, just being still, listening, just being. Back near the car, the others set up the grill. Amar and Roshan rolled up their sleeves and got to work on the chopping board. Shalu roamed with her camera, capturing details, a leaf on a rock, sunlight through pine needles, smiles from a distance. Vipul stood over the ingredients, already imagining the meal. "Today we're making rice curry," he declared with quiet satisfaction, "proper mountain style." The smell of spices and fresh vegetables mingled with the crisp air. They sat on warm stones, with their feet dipped into the icy water, hands wrapped around hot cups of chai. The world had slowed down, just for them. Shalu looked around at the group and smiled. "This moment," she said softly, "just let it stay in memory." They stayed there for hours, talking, eating, taking pictures, and simply being present. Eventually, they cleaned up, washed their utensils in the river, and got back on the road. As they sat quietly in the car, a shared thought lingered in everyone's mind. Another trip is coming to an end. Just then, Vipul broke the silence. "One last stop," he said, with a spark in his eyes. Everyone perked up. "Where?" Shalu asked, leaning forward. With a hopeful smile, Vipul replied, "Rudraprayag Sangam." A sudden wave of energy passed through the group. As the car cruised along the riverside highway, the music synced perfectly with the mood. Every song felt like a celebration, and the scenic drive along the majestic river only amplified the moment. They reached Rudraprayag faster than they expected. Even from the road, the view of the Sangam was breathtaking. Here, the Mandakini whispers purity in emerald green, while the Alaknanda speaks of ancient journeys in silty bronze. At Rudraprayag, they meet in sacred silence. Climbing down the stone steps with tired legs and aching muscles, they reached the temple nestled at the riverbed. The moment they touched the cool waters, a quiet divinity rippled through them, washing away their fatigue. Roshan, ever drawn to the charm of ancient architecture, wandered around, capturing photos of centuries-old idols carved into the rocks and walls, silent witnesses of time. For the rest, just being there was enough. It was quiet, peaceful, and somehow grounding. That brief stop at the Sangam left them feeling refreshed, as if they'd been given one final gift from the mountains. The engine hummed again, 4 more hours on the clock. But this time, no one spoke. It wasn't exhaustion. It was a shared silence filled with reflection. The spell was fading, and they all felt it. As the road curved and the last ridge of mountains vanished in the rear-view mirror, Roshan drove with one hand and held something small in the other, a folded piece of paper. It was a note he'd written to himself the night before the trip. Just 4 lines. "Don't forget why you came. Let all heal without knowing it. Let it change you too. Let go when it's time." He slipped the paper into the glove box, turned on the road trip playlist. A playlist they'd all built together, but left the volume low. Curves straightened. The mountains were gone. City light began to bleed across the sky. Despite his usual sarcasm and comic timing, Amar had been unusually quiet for the last stretch of the drive. He wasn't the loudest in the group, but in his silence now was a different kind of stillness, one that came when a part of you doesn't want something to end. He stared out the window at nothing in particular, the smile on his face faint but real. At the edge of the city, the silence deepened, not because there was nothing to say, but because everything had already been felt. No goodbyes were needed, just the quiet understanding that something had shifted, and that someday, maybe not long from now, they'd find their way back to another trail together. The pandemic had forced the world indoors, into silence, into distance, into reflection. But on these winding roads and misty peaks, they found a way to reconnect, not just with each other, but with themselves. The trip didn't cure the chaos outside, but it calmed the storm within. The trek may be over, the stove packed, the playlists paused, but their story didn't end here. Because the best kind of memories aren't scheduled or filtered, they're lived fully, just like this. Not every story needs a full stop. Some journeys end in commas with a promise of return. One day, Maybe without planning or a reason, they would hit the road again. And when they did, the mountains would be waiting, just like old friends.